Hi,
Hi Max, how you doing?
good.
I like your hat.
Thanks.
Where'd you get that from? I don't have one of those.
I got them. Someone gave it to me.
Okay, that's very nice.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you some questions.
Sure.
Um, I wanted to know, how did you get in, how were you involved?
How am I involved in James Webb?
Yeah,
Okay, so I put this background behind me here, this way. Uh,
yeah.
you kind of what our assembly area looks like, or it looked like when we were building James Webb. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the
I
manager.
watched a video, I think it was by 60 Minutes
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
you watched the video? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was 15 minutes. I don't know why they
Uh,
call it 60 minutes. But but I watched it like 3 times because I saw it once in class. That's how I got aware of this telescope. And then I watched it again to show it. And then I watched it again to show it to someone else I knew. But
but
I wanted to ask you, I saw somewhere
Mhm.
something called the 29 Days on Edge.
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
So during that time, obviously, I was very concerned, just like everyone else is. But I know that I've worked on James Webb for about 13, or I worked on James Webb for about 13 years. And in the 13 years I worked on it, which is older than you are, so
Mm-hmm.
I've so we've been testing it over and over again, and I feel confident that we've tested it as much as possible over that time period. So, it's like you are prepared in the sense that you know what it's supposed to do, and you know what can go wrong, and you've already thought about things that have gone wrong, but you obviously still have that anticipation of the things that you maybe didn't think about. But we had all those years to think about the things that could have gone wrong, and we try to test for all those situations. And so I felt confident. I was very happy, obviously, as I was watching, just like you were at home watching the deployments as it happened, and every single piece of the components as it unfurled in space. And if you see what my group was responsible for, actually, so I was the manager of the ground system engineering, which means we were responsible for deploying James Webb here on Earth. When we're not in space, you have a thing called gravity, and gravity is very difficult to counteract and make sure that the telescope still opens the way it wants to do in space. Space has no gravity, but on Earth we do. So all the yellow stuff you see here,
Yeah, the mirrors.
no, not the mirrors. The point it better.
Uh,
The side of the vehicle this way.
yeah, I think
Can you
so.
see the stuff? Not the mirrors, but on the floor that's attached, supporting and holding up the telescope.
Yeah.
That stuff is what my team did. So we designed all the support equipment to hold the vehicle up so that it can withstand Earth's gravity while we open the mirrors, we open the sun shield, we open the actual secondary mirrors, we actually deploy the entire telescope. We even do things like deploy the solar array. So that every component you saw when you were watching the 29 days, all those components were tested here on the ground, and my team was responsible for designing the fixtures to help open them up. And so we were able to prove that, hey, here on Earth, they do open and deploy. And so that means on orbit, it'll be successful.
Yeah, and it worked, and with extra fuel and stuff, right?
Yeah, the extra fuel was a pretty happy surprise. We were definitely shooting for the mission life was originally 5 years, right, as the requirement. We thought you'd get 10, and now we're thinking we're gonna get 20 now. So
yeah. So there's 2 other questions that I just thought of. First, how do you test it on Earth?
So how we test it on Earth, again, we talked about gravity, right? So gravity is a big problem. So we have to do counteracting gravity. So imagine you ever play like an air hockey table?
I don't play air hockey really,
But do you know what that is? So
I
basically,
know it.
well, like floats on like a cushion of air, for example.
Yeah.
So something like that. We do some of those kind of equipment. We also like use counterweights. So like if something like a teeter totter, imagine if you weigh something over here and you want to counteract it, you put the same weight on the other side. It balances to make it level instead of it kind of falling down. So we do kind of the same thing with the vehicle as well. So we make sure we counteract the effects of gravity by putting different kind of mechanisms and different kind of solutions to help you be like you're in space.
Yeah, and how do you move it around? Do you move it around or try to?
We do. So in this picture behind me, it's being lifted by a crane on the top.
Oh,
So
you use
it
cranes?
moves around. Yeah. We also use these things called air bearings, which is why I asked you about the air hockey table, is that you basically put like a big cushion of air on the floor, and then you can push the whole vehicle around pretty simply. Actually, it creates no friction on the floor. So it's really easy to push around. You just have a group of people and you push it and it moves.
Yeah, once me and my friend, me or my friend, I forgot which, or maybe both, had this soccer thing with that idea, and it was fun to push around. I think I know that.
Okay,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
And then we've also done like there's another vehicle. So like to move it from here to the launch site, we had to actually drive it with a truck, put it on a boat. Then the boat drove through the Panama Canal, and then we drove it from the truck to the launch site. That's also how we move it as well. So there's many different ways to move the vehicle around, depending on what we're trying to do.
Yeah, what's your guess for what the telescope's gonna see?
My guess is that we will see something that we didn't expect to see. And that's the part. It's hard to tell, right? It's like I think they want to see formation of galaxies, formation of stars. We already know that. I think the most exciting part is finding out what you don't know you're going to see. You might find some, I don't know, some new discovery about, dark matter or something about black holes that you never really thought about envisioning to do. And that's where we're hoping all the scientists were out there making these cases to do what they want to look for, is that they will find something out of that we don't expect. And that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, so once I heard from somewhere, I actually don't have any clue where, but they said like we might see a new color or something, but I feel like because I like tech a lot, the little bulbs inside of the computers won't have that color able to see. So how does that work?
I think, I don't know about the different colors, but I mean, the way that the instruments work is, remember, we have to convert what we see from the cameras into actually something that we can see as a picture. So there's some processing that happens after they actually take the data from the telescope. So the telescope takes the pictures in the infrared spectrum, and that's not something we can visually see ourselves anyways. So the processing turns into a color picture that we would see. I don't know exactly how that process works, but I imagine when they convert that, they should be able to convert enough colors for us to visualize like what's out there in terms of the birth of those galaxies.
Yeah, this is totally random, but do you believe in aliens?
I do believe that this universe is way too big for us to be by ourselves. And then the aliens may not be green men with hands and big heads, but they might be little organisms. They might be something that is, I think, life form.
Do you think there's
intelligent life? I wouldn't necessarily say that I would believe that. We might be the most intelligent people in the universe. Who knows that?
Do you think there is more intelligent things in the universe?
I hope so. But I think my belief is just that, yeah, are we the only beings in the universe? I think there's just way too many stars and way too many planets for us to be it.
Yeah. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grow up? Did you always want to be into space?
Actually, no. I grew up, I thought, I love Legos and I love playing with building things. I'm sure you do too. I love taking things apart when I was a kid. And then I decided I want to be an engineer. But then when I was an engineer, I wanted to build cars. That's what I wanted to do. I want to build race cars or sports cars and things like that. I love that. But then I went to school and I realized that, the technology, going forward, it was really kind of more interesting in the aerospace industry. So I didn't really go into automotive. And that's how I kind of developed my interest as I grew up. But as a kid, I mean, I loved space shuttle and rockets and that kind of thing. It was really awesome, but I wasn't thinking that I was going to do that. I actually really love cars more than I love that. But now I kind of, tech stuff all over the place. I'm all interested now as the next.
Yeah, I'm already really interested in a lot of space, cool, random, like wormholes, black holes.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
And rockets.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, probably not that much younger than you, I saw the Hubble telescope go up. I watched that on the space shuttle, and I thought that was pretty awesome. And when those pictures took back, but I never thought I would ever work on the successor for it, that many years later.
Yeah, when did you change your mind? Like what age?
I was probably in college by the time I decided I want to work in space. But yeah.
Okay. Did you go to space camp?
Did I go to space camp? I wanted to go to space camp, but I couldn't afford going to space camp. But I would absolutely have loved to go to space camp. I did do like a rocket like class, and I built little model rockets and did that kind of thing.
Yeah, I want to go to space camp. Luckily, we can afford it, but the wait list may be a little too long for this year.
Oh, really?
The
Definitely.
least was
in lieu of like going to space camp, I did go to see the museums and like go see things like that at Air and Space Museum, things like that, to try to understand more just by looking at it.
Yeah. Can you tell us any secrets, like anything the general public doesn't know about, or no?
About James Webb?
Yeah.
I don't know if, there's a lot of the secrets to reveal, but we definitely had, they're not secrets, there's things that are out there, but we definitely had a lot of troubles here building it, right? We took so long, and people think it's just because we were wasting money, but really it's not, right? We were trying to develop technology that didn't exist, and we we're trying to do processes that had never been done. And so we sometimes stumble and we fail and we did it wrong, and we go back and do it again. And so, I think we get a lot of bad press about, oh, it's delayed. All you hear is delayed and it's over budget, things like that. And it costs more, and it does cost a lot of money. But I think it's because we learn from our mistakes, and we kept, we learn, don't do the same mistake again. And then you try something else. And that's why it took that long, I would say.
So NASA's not hiding anything?
No, all those things were in articles, but usually they were more focused on the fact that we were too expensive and we're behind. So they weren't focused on what actually happened. And we always look at it as a plus. We learned a way to not do something. Right? Now when I mistake again, if I do it wrong one time, and I won't make them. Just like if you do something wrong at home, your parents tell you don't do that again, you won't do it again, right? Because that was not the right way to behave, not the right way to act or something. And so same way we do at work. You don't want to design something that fails again. So my next, venture that I do, I wouldn't do that mistake.
So there's one question I wanted to know is, it's personal for me. Should I go into the space industry or the coding industry or the coding for NASA industry?
Well, let me ask you, what's important to you? What makes you happy every day? If you had to do one thing for a whole week, what would you pick between those two?
I love coding, okay, but I also love learning about the cool things like discoveries mainly. I love learning about breakthroughs and discoveries and stuff. Okay.
And so see, if you love coding, that's a good start, right? So you would say, I have to tell people when they want us to go into engineering is you do this every day. That's the question, right? Because I've done this for my career and I do it every day and I still love doing it every day. If you don't love what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. You should be doing something else probably that you love, right? So, but coding is great, but coding can be in any field, right? You can code, like you said, for NASA, and the telescope definitely has plenty of coders for the software needed to run James Webb. So definitely if you merge those two, interests, it's like a perfect match for you. And I think that's something you could definitely go into. You just hone that coding skill, and you can apply it to anything really. And you say you're interested in tech in general, and that goes across beyond space. And so I definitely have met coders, and I don't know how to do that, but it's definitely something that I think you can also thrive in the space industry as well.
Yeah, and this is the real last question.
Okay.
When I forgot, but when are you guessing, or what if most people agree, is when we're gonna get the first, like, not just to calibrate the instruments and stuff, okay, like that, yeah, might give us discoveries, a photo?
A photo? I still think we're probably anywhere between 6 months to a year away from actual, like, a process photo. I think, the photons will get collected. I think the data will be downloaded probably within 6 months type of time frame to do the first image, but the processing to turn an infrared picture to an actual visible picture, I would say at least another year, my guess.
Oh, it takes that long?
You asking me my guess? That's my guess.
Okay.
I told you earlier, I don't know how the instrument works, but I do know that when you process that data, they want to be accurate and don't want to take shortcuts to that. And so I would think a year from launch, right? So I think maybe something would be nice would be like an inaugural, 1 year celebration is there's your first image. I think that'd be a great celebration to have. Because the calibration takes just half of that time already, I think it'll take that long to get a nice crisp image.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking your time out of your day. I'm guessing you're pretty busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I enjoyed talking to you. This has been great. I mean, if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask. And like I said, I open invitation for you and your family if you want to go check out the window. We can look inside for a simulator if you like to see that.
yeah, I definitely would.
Yeah. So let your parents know, and that I can arrange that too.
So thanks. I'm gonna stop the recording.